What up, gamers and book lovers? Today on Dice and Dragons, I'm continuing the Tales From series as we get ready for this beauty to appear in the mail, the Reckoner's game from Nauvoo Games. We are now reviewing book 2 of the Reckoner's, Firefight, and the book is by Brandon Sanderson. Now, for those of you that are new to this channel, this is normally a board game channel, but we do enjoy covering other content as well. So we're trying some new things out, and as this lovely game from Nauvoo Games is going to be arriving shortly, we decided to take a stab at reviewing the entire Reckoner's book series. Now, for those of you that don't know what this series is, I'll give a brief summary and then we'll get into talking about the book. The Reckoner series is set in an alternate future where a red star known as Calamity Rose giving people superpowers. However, no superheroes actually showed up. Everyone that got superpowers has become known as an epic, and for whatever reason, they are all evil. And that is the stage for the Reckoner series. What we'll then do is we'll talk a little bit about the setting of the book. There'll be some spoiler light stuff about what happens in Steelheart. Then we'll take a look at our returning characters, and then of course our new characters, starting off with the heroes and then getting into the villains. Now, keep it right here, and as always, like what we like to do at Dice and Dragons, we're going to grab our drink, grab our book. Yes, still the digital one, but you know, Kindles are fairly useful. And we're going to get to talking about Firefight, so keep it right here. We're going to be back in a flash. Now, before I get into the review for Firefight, I just want to let everyone know that most of the images that I use for the Steelheart review came from the upcoming Reckoner's game by Nauvoo Games, as they have yet to release an expansion such as Babalar or the upcoming Ildethia. And for those of you that already read Calamity know what that is. I'm just finding out now myself. Well, I do not have images for this review. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to track some down, but unfortunately it won't be as nice as the previous Steelheart review. Now, I'm going to get out of your way and we're going to send you on to the review of Firefight. Now, I'm going to set the stage a little bit for Firefight, so I just want to advise viewers that there will be some minor spoilers for the book. And for those of you that want some more information about the world of the Reckoners, take a look up here. You should be seeing a card appearing that will take you to our review of Steelheart. Now, the book opens with the Reckoner team being engaged against an epic known as Sourcefield that has electrical manipulation powers. And after they successfully defeat her, I don't want to talk too much about it because there is some interesting information in there. They find out that Sourcefield was sent by an epic known as Regalia. Now, Regalia and Prof do seem to have a bit of a history, and Regalia has taken over Babylon Restored. Regalia has the powers of water manipulation and effectively flooded Manhattan sometime after Calamity. I'm not sure what the time frame is, but I believe it's a few years after. And since then, the city has been renamed Babylon Restored. What then happens is that David, Tia, and Prof set out to Babylon Restored to see and find out more information as to what's going on with Regalia and why she keeps sending people to New Chicago. And the reason why they realize it's her is because both Sourcefield and Mitosis have been operating out of Babylon Restored. Now, if you're interested in more information on Mitosis, the card above my head will take you to my review of that book as well. Now, when they arrive in Babylon Restored, well, on the outskirts of Babylon Restored, David has his first meeting with a second Reckoner team, the ones that are currently infiltrating Babylon Restored, which is made up of Excel, Mizzy, and Val. Now that we've set sort of the stage for the book, let's talk about our heroes. Now, I'm going to start by talking about David. And David has come a long way from where we saw him in the first book to where he is now. He's definitely matured. He is a lot more self-confident. I do like the way that he engages Tia and Prof more. I like the fact that he wants to be more involved with regards to mission planning and is just in general confident as to what he brings to the team. I do like the relationship that develops between him and Tia, the fact that they're both very interested in epic powers and the group known as the Loris. And overall, I think it's a very positive progression from Steelheart to Firefight, where David ends up. It's also a very natural progression. And we'll talk more about Tia. I did find that Tia took a little bit of a back seat in this book. She's still very present, but not as much as she was in the original book of the series Steelheart. I think that a lot of their thunder sort of got taken by Mizzy, and we'll talk about Mizzy in a bit. But we do see more of Tia's capabilities. We get a little bit more with regards to the insight into her relationship with Prof, and that was very good. I do like the fact that you do see that her and Prof don't always agree, but you do notice that there's definitely a balance to the way that they run the Reckoner teams. Now, Prof, I think, is the character that has undergone sort of the greatest changes. From the man that we meet at the beginning of Steelheart to the man that he is in Firefight. I'm sure a lot of you will have some questions as to with regards to the actions that he takes and why. It does become clear towards the end of the book, but we see a more confident version of Prof, maybe a little bit less cautious with regards to certain things, but he's definitely different. And throughout the course of the book, you can see there's something going on with him. I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys, but pay attention, and as you find out, I think you're really going to enjoy it. So that really covers where the three heroes from the original book got to. Let's talk about the new characters. We're gonna start with Excel and Val, as they're really more minor side characters, sort of like Cody and Abraham were, but even more so to an extent, because Mizzy really kind of steps up and fills the place of Megan, and also because she's a new character, and we're in the second book, she also gets a little bit of not screen time, but page time away from existing characters. And definitely I think Excel and Val suffer. While they are well developed, they're very much not in the book a lot. There's a few scenes with them and they're interesting. Excel is your typical big guy, stocky, barrel-chested. He's actually a former mortician, and he's got a very interesting perspective on life, and I do like what he brings to the team. It's definitely a very human element and also a hopeful element, something that I think Abraham did. So they are very similar, Excel and Abraham, in that respect, but their characters and personalities are very different. Now, Val reminds me a lot of Megan. She's very much the capable one. She is, without a doubt, the hard ass, and she hates epics, and she's also the team's ops. Now, she runs ops for the Manhattan team, something that gets replaced by Tia now that Tia's there. So Val kind of shifts a little bit between operations and almost running point. But there's definitely a darkness to Val, and you'll learn a little bit more about it as the book goes on. But I have to say, overall, I didn't really like her character. She doesn't really trust David, per se. You can see that she feels that he's an outsider. The friction between them is very well done throughout the course of the book. But some of her decisions and things later on, I felt that I got why she makes the decisions, but as a team leader, I was a little bit disappointed. Now we're going to talk about Megan. Now, Megan does make an appearance in this book. I'm not going to talk about whether she's, heroic or a villain. She has a very interesting role in the book. I really like what they did with her character. Her progression from Steelheart to where she ends up by the end of Firefight is fantastic. And I think everyone's really going to enjoy it. There's definitely some more insight into her powers, and why she is the way she is, and also why she was one of Steelheart's top lieutenants in New Kaga. So we've talked about almost all the heroes, and the one I really want to talk about is Mizzy. Mizzy is the new character. She is inexperienced. She is a native of Babylon Restored, and sort of David's foil. I really like the fact that when you look at the way Mizzy is at the start of the book, you find that she is a lot like David used to be. She wants to be capable. She thinks she can be a point man. She wants to do more, and she wants to take down epics and make the world a better place. her hopeful nature and especially her attitude is something that David didn't have. And it's very interesting to see sort of that dichotomy. Whereas David was on one side, this kid that grew up, hard life, lost his father, and just wanted to kill epics for the sake of revenge. Mizzy has lived in Babylon Restored. It's very much a different place. Doesn't suffer a lot of the same hardships, but there is a lot, they don't have as many amenities. She's got this little cool retro feel to her. I like her character design with her, like her afro hair, and the fact that she's African American is something that I appreciate as well. But she's got that sort of naivete that David had, but whereas David was naive but still very hard, and he was naive about the way the Reckoners work and about some of the interpersonal relationships, Missy's a little bit more naive about the way of the world, and I do really like that about her. So she plays as the perfect foil for David. She's a very well-developed character, and I was very happy that Brandon Sanderson spent a lot of time with her. I do wish she'd maybe taken a little bit of her time away to spend more time with Excel and Val, but he has his reasons for everything, and you guys will find out by the time you get to the end of the book. We've talked about sort of the heroes. We've talked a little bit about Megan, is she a hero? Is she not? You'll find out. And we talked about Mizzy, so now we're going to move on to the villains. And in this book, there are really three main villains. We've got Regalia herself, Newton, and Obliteration. Now, I'm going to first start off with talking about Regalia. I really, really enjoyed this character. Her background history with Prof is very intriguing. I'm not going to spoil it. Her powers are very interesting as well, the way that they work and the way that the team has to work to sort of overcome the powers. And what I do like about her as a villain is, and I'm going to reference a superhero movie, but one that's not as popular as others is Unbreakable. She reminds me a lot of Mr. Glass in the way that she's got a plan, she's playing things out, there's manipulations going on behind the scenes, and you kind of feel that sometimes she's one step ahead of our heroes. But I do like the fact that she doesn't give anything away. And there's nothing easy for the heroes to find out, and you guys will see what her plan is by the end of the book, and I did really enjoy it. Next, we'll talk about Newton. Newton has a much smaller role in the book. She is the gang leader and basically the most powerful epic besides Regalia. She kind of had the run of a lot of the gangs in Babylon Restored before Regalia came and took over, and now she is the top lieutenant. She runs the gangs, and she's got a very interesting power set that makes her very, a high epic because she's very difficult to kill. And I did like her personality, and her backstory is a fascinating one as well. But she isn't in the book a lot. We don't spend too much time with her, but the way her character is used and the way she sort of is like an insight into the way things happen in Babylon and sort of the daily life there, I did really enjoy. Now, the character that is the most interesting, which is Obliteration. Now, Obliteration is an epic whose powers are related on heat. He can teleport, and the thing about him is he's destroyed entire cities. Now, throughout the course of the book, you're going to get to know a lot more about Obliteration, his mindset, sort of why he's done the things that he's done. And he's always quoting from scripture. And the way he views himself, as well as all epics and his purpose in the world, is absolutely fascinating. He creates a very interesting foil for David, especially with all the things that he's going through. The way that he now views epics after his encounters with Conflux and Firefight from Steelheart. And he's just very unnerving. And he is definitely... He plays up that mad, crazy villain that also has a purpose. He makes me think a lot of the Joker, not necessarily a very incarnation of the Joker, but that just sort of crazy mentality and the fact that he kind of sees a foil in David, much the way that the Joker sees a foil in Batman, and their interactions are great, and I just love the way Brandon has written the character. So, we've gone over the heroes, villains. Now let's talk about the book itself, and we'll talk a little bit about the setting of Babylon Restored, because that's where the primary takes place. I do want to talk about the city. I found Brandon's vision of Babylon Restored to be entirely fascinating. The reason for that is that it is a concrete city, but there is an epic known as Dawn's Light that they say is responsible for having basically a rainforest grow inside the buildings. There's fruit that can be picked up, and as the city is flooded, everyone also lives on top of the cities. And Dawn's Light apparently has done something to, not in the city, sorry, on top of the buildings, and he's done something to heat the water, meaning you've got a very relaxed lifestyle. People are living in tents. The climate's much warmer than it should be in New York City, essentially, and people do their best to enjoy their lives. They take it easy. They eat fruit. There is no longer a lot of gang violence in Babylon Restored since Regalia took over, and makes it to the point that a lot of people don't see Regalia as being all that bad. And even the Reckoner team themselves are questioning, what is Regalia's purpose in Babylon Restored? What is she trying to accomplish? And I really enjoyed everything about the city itself. It's very inventive and an interesting way to imagine sort of a future flooded New York City in a post-apocalyptic setting. And I'm really looking forward to Nauvoo Games coming out with an expansion, because I'd love to see how they envision Babylon Restored with input from Brandon Sanderson. So we'll talk about the book, and I'm going to give it my scoring just after that. Now, while I do really enjoy the entire story of Firefight, I actually think I preferred it to Steel Art. This is actually probably one of the few times I would say that I really enjoyed the sequel to a book more than the original. Well, I can't say it's one of the few times. It does happen sort of an ongoing series. You're always going to find your favorite. But in a shorter trilogy, I find more often than not the opening book to be the strongest, and gets a little bit weaker from there. But I think that Brandon sort of grew more into what he wanted to tell. Like, the story grew with him, and he also became more accomplished as a writer by the time he got into writing Firefight. And I must say that the plot in the book is interesting. I like the characters' relationships. All of the settings are very cool, like the new Reckoner base, as well as the tools that they have. And I really like the fact that he's gone and taken a lot of this post-apocalyptic world and made it very different and stand very stark in contrast to what you may see in, a depiction from like Mad Max. Whereas there was a lot of devastated landscape that he does talk about, and struggles. Ducago, Babylon Restored are very distinctive from each other, and represents how, different ways civilization is going to go on in this world that's been turned upside down by superpowers. So, like the writing style. The negatives I would have liked to have seen some more time spent with some other characters, Excel and Val in particular. I do feel that they're a little bit underdeveloped, and I think I would have liked to see David try to spend more time with them. Might have made things a little bit easier for him in the long run. Maybe they would have trusted him a little bit more, and just, brought the team sort of all closer together. But Sanderson has his reasons, and I think you guys will understand by the time you get to the end of the book. That being said, I really enjoyed everything about the way it was written, the structure, and the climax for the novel is quite interesting and very much unexpected. I did not think that he was going to pull off what he did, and I'm absolutely fascinated as to where the series is going to go, and eagerly looking forward to actually getting the chance to finish off Calamity and bring you guys, a review of that book and sort of a summary review of the entire series. So with regards to Firefight, I'm going to give this book an 8.5. It is an excellent book. I absolutely loved it. If you are looking for a superhero fix or a Brandon Sanderson fix, I highly recommend it. And for those of you that want to see more of our videos, please take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to our social media feeds. You'll find out when we got something new going on. Or click down below on the subscribe, like the video. Let us know in the comments as well. And you'll also be seeing links appearing up above to other videos in the Reckoner series. And when it's available, you'll see the video link to the board game review. So, as we always like to do here in Dice and Dragons, I'm going to take it out by grabbing my drink. grabbing my book because I want to get back to reading and finishing off Calamity. So keep it right here, and hopefully we'll see you back for our next review.